Hello, everybody, and
Hey.
welcome to the Preparing Your E-commerce Stores for Holiday Readiness panel here at the Page Builder Summit. I hope you all have been having a great time. My name is Adam Warner. I'm the Director of Field Marketing for GoDaddy Pro, and with me today is Maher Bala, front-end WordPress developer, active WordPress contributor, and team rep of the marketing team and WordCamp organizer and co-host of the Unplugged Tech podcast. Welcome, Maher.
Hey everyone.
And also we have Ronald Gijsel, business manager at Yith, a WooCommerce plugin provider. Welcome, Ronald.
So glad to be here. Thank you for having me.
Of course, and Marcus Burnette, WooCommerce specialist at GoDaddy Pro, and my colleague who comes to the team from SkyVerge, a leader in WooCommerce extensions like WooCommerce memberships, WooCommerce Avatax, and Google Analytics Pro. Welcome, everybody. I am super excited for this panel. And sorry, Marcus, welcome.
Thank you. Thanks for having me, Adam.
Of course. This is going to be really fun. I assume we all love WooCommerce and for various reasons, or we might all be a little bit annoyed at certain aspects of WooCommerce, which is the beauty of open source software, that we have the ability to change the things that we need to change in order to make it our own. So in today's session, we would like to cover a few different categories of getting your e-commerce store ready for the holidays. And we're going to cover some of the essentials, the payment gateways, security, email marketing, and analytics. So without further ado, I am just going to kick off a series of questions. Let's have an open conversation. The sky is the limit. And here we go. Everybody ready?
Let's go.
Let's go.
All right. Here we go. So in the essentials category, in all of your opinions, what are some of the main things that merchants need to consider to be ready for the holiday season? Kind of an overarching umbrella question.
You need to be very clear. So I just imagine a visitor who's never visited your shop, and they go frantically from different stores, different sites, and they look for a good deal or the best deal, or they look something that's suitable to them. So you have that really small frame window to impress them. So I think essentially, a fast site, and then as soon as they land, something very specific to say, yeah, here's the deal. So a banner or something.
I love that. A very clear and quick message into what the main offer is, what you're there to do.
Yeah.
How about Maher and Marcus? Any opinions on that?
I definitely agree that when a user comes on your site, it should be easy for them to find what they're looking for. And the flow of should be very easy for people to navigate from one to another. And speed is the most important factor in today's time.
Yeah, absolutely agree with that, Maher.
Yeah, definitely agree with exactly what Ronald and Maher both talked about. In my mind, I immediately jump to the logistics. I start thinking, what are the building blocks, right? And it's always the three pillars. It's having payment gateways, a way to get paid, shipping methods, and taxes, and having those things set up in a way that a lot of it's automated. A lot of it you don't have to think about after you set it up. But just my brain jumps straight to the logistical side of things and saying, all right, what are the necessities to make the site actually function so that you can actually process orders and then fulfill them.
Yeah, those critical things that pertain to the actual run of the business, right?
Yeah, some of them are more fun than others, but they're all necessary.
Yeah, understood.
Well, getting paid is probably the most important one, isn't it, for a shop owner?
Yeah,
so.
Of course.
It's the most fun too.
Yeah, that's the whole point, right? So in terms of, I think we've all gone down the rabbit hole with WordPress and WooCommerce in general of choosing a theme. Or choosing a page builder, or choosing a frameworks, or sticking with the core editor, Gutenberg these days. So in terms of an e-commerce store and WooCommerce specifically, how important is your theme selection for your e-com store?
It's a mixture of everything, isn't it, that you represent. So part of the theme is the design, the way it looks and feels. It's your window, your shop window. So getting it right and it works well, then you have the optimization of different devices, different screen types, and then you then look at speed. Does it all work fast? Because without speed, really, you have no chance these days, especially if you're traveling on the bus and you want to get a last minute deal. If it doesn't render, if it doesn't show everything in a nice way, well, people are gone. So theme is much more than fonts and colors. I think we all know now how to adjust it, but it's what's sort of under the bonnet that matters. And I think that's where you need to look at everything that you want within the theme for your store to do. That's what you should be looking at.
Yeah, couldn't agree more with that. Anybody else want to tackle that
Of
one?
course, like theme is very essential because theme also helps you to place your tags, call to actions in the right place your focus of the users in the right, so that they can quickly add the products to their cart and just order what they require. So theme is definitely one of the big factors when you develop a e-commerce site. It should be lightweight, it should be easy to customize, and it should be quite user friendly to the site owner.
Yeah, 100% agree there. Their mention of having those areas where you can place calls to action depending on whatever the needs of the e-com site is. And then I think you touched on or what you said made me think of the path that the user takes from adding to a cart, then or adding to the cart, then having to go to a checkout page. What are those things within a theme that can help speed up that flow so it's as instant a purchase as possible, so there's no waiting time for the customer to back out or abandon that cart?
Yes, if the process is too long, then you will have a lot of customers whose internet may go down, or who changes their mind. So simple, direct purchase is the best.
Yeah, agreed. Marcus, do you have anything to add on the subject of theme selection for WooCommerce?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like we've probably, as designers and developers, been harping on it for over a decade now, but the mobile friendliness just continues to be more and more important every year. I think it's probably been a couple of years now since mobile traffic surpassed desktop traffic, and yet I continue to see stores that just aren't optimized for mobile devices, and it's just a nightmare to try and shop on a mobile device sometimes. So making sure that you pick a theme that's mobile friendly, that not just looks okay on your phone, but the whole user experience from product to checkout to cart to checkout and all the way through is seamless and just works real well on a mobile device is super important these days.
Yeah, that's a great call out. And I would say then, based on what you've just said, that any e-com site should probably be mobile first in terms of development and design. I know I've been stuck on e-commerce sites that didn't have a great user experience. Not the design so much as, like you just said, but it was the fact that I had to then, it wasn't a streamlined a guest checkout or account creation process. It was not something I wanted to do on my phone, is fill out a bunch of fields. So as minimal as we can make that, I think the better for our businesses and then the businesses of our clients that we serve in terms of e-commerce. Okay, I'm going to jump to the next one.
And I was going to just add to that, Adam, to I can't emphasize enough to test that checkout, especially before Black Friday, to see what the payment looks like and if it can autofill from from your Google or your iPhone, and pre-populate all the fields, but also then all the way to checkout if you haven't got a captcha that's sort of hidden somewhere. And then my account as well, that it is all accessible from a phone, because it is, as a store owner, you check your homepage, maybe a category and a product page, maybe add to cart, and that's probably all your testing done. But a real user experience of a checkout, that's another level that you shouldn't underestimate.
Yeah, I think Go ahead, Marcus.
Having a field that shows up on a desktop that's just mysteriously not there on a phone that's necessary for you to complete checkout is the worst. I've definitely run into that. And then you don't know why, for some reason, orders aren't going through. And you look at your numbers and you're like, wow, I guess people don't care about purchasing on a phone. When in reality is you've just blocked the ability for them to purchase on a phone.
Yeah. And you do a lot of stuff with analytics, Marcus. And I suppose it's really easy to identify that there if you know where to look for when it comes to sort of conversion rates.
Yeah, I had a client who they're like filling out their credit card information, the month and year needed to have a slash, and the keyboard when it pops up doesn't have a slash on it. So there was some JavaScript that was supposed to fill it in, and it wasn't doing that for some theme conflict or something. So literally no one on a phone could fill out credit card information. And when you look at your stats, you wonder, okay, I guess people just aren't shopping from their phone because I'm not getting a lot of orders. In reality, it's just that there's a barrier there and they weren't able to make any purchases.
That's a really interesting subject. I'm glad you brought it up, Ronald, and added to it there, Marcus. This makes me think of, having, when you mentioned, Ronald, your clients or the e-com store owners or yourselves as developers, designers, checking on the flow and checking on the site, but making sure that you're checking that payment flow, I think is probably something that e-com store owners or anyone managing a site might not be as focused on, and doing that on a regular basis to make sure that you can catch those things like Marcus just described, or at least identify that something is wrong, and then being able to dig into it. So I would propose that some regular transaction testing would probably be something good for people to put into their daily plan, not daily plan, but their Q&A plan on a regular basis.
Yeah.
Okay. Next question. This is a fun subject. Should store owners manage their own sales tax collection?
That's a bit tricky, I feel, because each country has its own sales. So definitely you should maintain, but get advice from a correct person before adding it to your cart, because at the end of the day, you need to even file those taxes.
Yeah, good advice. Seek the help of a professional. Don't
It's
do
too
it
complicated
yourself.
though. I mean, shouldn't it all be made so much easier also here? And not here, I'm slightly outside of the European Union, but as European, we have this supposedly economic area where things are easier now. In the last couple of months, or maybe 5-6 months ago, this new tax where you have a threshold. If you go over the threshold of a particular country you're selling to, you then have to start declaring the taxes. And how can you possibly keep a track of all these thresholds where you're selling to? I mean, if you start out as a store owner, you're just over the moon if you start selling really well. And then you have something like Black Friday and you have a huge hit, you go over the threshold, you didn't charge the right taxes. Wow, that's such a big nightmare scenario. So I think you have to be super careful of how you manage that and plan ahead. Yeah,
that gives me anxiety, what you've just described. That does not sound like fun.
How is that in the US though? Because I can see that you have all different rules as well. Is that a lot easier for ecom?
No, it's very complicated in the US. I would say down to even the city level. A former colleague of mine was telling me one time that he lived on a street and his area tax region was one. And then the neighbor behind him, though it was in the same city and the same county and the same state and all of that, was just a different tax region entirely. And there's no way, if you managed it yourself and said, this city, this should be this tax region, wouldn't have accurately covered that. So I know that I'm probably biased coming from a company that builds a plugin for managing taxes, but I always recommend a third-party tax service to just handle all that for you. And a lot of them will even submit the taxes for you as well and not just collect them. So I personally would it's worth every penny, I think, to let a company that's made for that handle that.
Yeah.
So, Ronald, with what you've just described, are there WooCommerce solutions that are designed to help with the per company thresholds?
Yeah, so for we developed an EU VAT plugin that triggers the threshold once you hit it, or gives you warning well before you hit that threshold. So there are tools, but if you're very international selling in the US, totally different rules. So my question was actually also to Marcus and Meher, whether you need 2-3 different plugins to manage all the different areas. I'd suddenly really panic about the whole idea if you're a global seller, how you manage that.
I had installed 2 different plugins for one of my clients because they were selling locally and internationally, especially in the US. Because in India, the taxes are calculated differently, and it does change sometimes, and you need to be well aware of that. So I had installed one for international and one for local.
Yeah, I'm by no means a tax expert, but yeah, there are some out there like Avalar and TaxJar, and I think even Jetpack has some built in these days to be able to handle international sales. It always gets tricky, right? Because then, sure, within the US is one thing, and then maybe within India is a different thing. But let's say you're in India selling to someone in the US, and then there's like the whole cross-border thing just adds even more complexity to the whole thing. Let someone handle it for you. That's my advice.
There it is. If there's one takeaway from today's panel, it is let someone else handle the taxes. So let's go to a bit of a lighter question here, a bit more of an umbrella question, still under the essentials category that we've been talking about, how to prepare e-commerce sites for holiday readiness for yourself, your clients. How can agencies and freelancers ensure that their clients are successful? So this is, again, kind of an umbrella question. Maybe there's some philosophy involved. Maybe there's some technical advice involved. But how can agencies and freelancers make sure that their clients are successful?
By watching this panel.
There you go. Answer number one.
I think it's all about planning well ahead. There are different stages. You have the stage of bringing customers to your store, because everybody will be shouting about their deal and it's better and it's this and it's that. So communicating whatever you're doing for this special season is super important. So, mail marketing, pay-per-click, social, plan and schedule it as well. Then, on the day itself, that the deal actually works. So, my big advice would be use a dynamic pricing and discount plugin, so you don't need to worry about codes. Is it going to work? Or even worse would be on we talked earlier about the mobile phone, and then you have somebody that has to copy and paste the code, and it's slightly different with a lower higher case. So automate everything and schedule it so it all works. Testing, really big one. And then during the sale, it's just be on standby, just monitor, because it's a very small window. If you don't really make the most of it, you lose out.
Makes sense. Yeah. And when you're talking about the topic of discounts, you're talking about that discount code being appended to the URL of wherever someone has clicked through it, rather than making them copy and paste and put it in the apply coupon field.
Yeah, even if that shows up on a mobile mobile device, isn't it? These the different fields where it actually shows up.
Yeah. Meher, Marcus, any opinions there for how to make sure that your clients are successful?
I think for freelancers and agencies, the biggest thing is make sure the website is tested, because a lot of times when you work on a website, you're confident that everything works, but last minute something or the other which you don't realize is returning a 404, or the page is not formatted properly. So I would always recommend a new person who's not attached to the project always test the workflow from start to end, because he'll be like a visitor to your site, and he or she can actually take out small details which you'll also know. So I would really say testing and also backups, because during the holiday season, there are a lot of people who will access your site. There are a lot of people who will try and uh, hack into your site. So backups and security and testing are the three major things.
Yeah, I love that idea of, or the suggestion of having someone with a fresh pair of eyes look at the site and go through as a user. Oftentimes when we're building things for ourselves or for clients, we're doing so for many weeks and sometimes months on end, and we get so close to something that some of the most obvious things we might miss. I think that's great advice.
Yeah, I don't have too much more to add to what Meher and Ronald said, other than just start early. The earlier that you can start all of that, the better.
There you go. The 7 P's of life. Proper prior planning prevents piss poor performance.
It's a good tongue twist. I'm not going to repeat that.
Yeah.
All right, let's talk about payment gateways for a second. So what considerations should be made when choosing payment options for your WooCommerce store? And as we know, there are a lot of payment options. There's PayPal, there's Stripe, there's GoDaddy Payments, there's a bunch of other ones. So what are some of the things that we need to consider when making those choices?
I was going to say Marcus is the expert, because I know you've developed a lot of payment plugins. So I was going to give this
I
one
personally have not, but yes,
you can claim.
Yeah.
As part of the team, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, the most obvious one, of course, is going to be price considerations. That's the first thing that you're probably going to look at when you're trying to make a decision on which payment gateway you want to go with. And then the other considerations, of course, is there a WooCommerce plugin for it? If you have to develop that yourself, that's going to be costly and potentially difficult. So look to see if there's already a payment gateway a plugin that exists for the payment gateway that you want to use. And then the other considerations are going to be just around currency, making sure that the payment gateway that you select works for not just your country, or your currency, but any other countries that you're planning to sell and ship to. And yeah, just making sure that all works smoothly.
Yeah, that's a really good point. The also in Europe, and I wonder how that is in India as well. But you have every country has a different preferred payment method, and I know here in the UK where I'm from, you forget that the different countries use these. So you think MasterCard or Visa are fine for everybody, but in fact it's not. So if you don't do your research, you potentially miss out on a lot of sales. How is it in India? Do you also have lots of different payment types?
We have a lot of different payment types, and one suggestion I would definitely put forward is make sure the payment gateway allows you to select other currencies as soon as your account is set up. Because sometimes till you don't hit an X threshold, or till you are not X months old, certain payment gateways in India don't allow international transaction. So also make sure that if you're targeting US or UK, the payment gateway you choose should also give you the flexibility to instantly start targeting those markets.
That's a great call out. Something I was unaware of with payment gateways, that sometimes there's a hold on your ability to do the things that you or your clients need to do.
I've got another question for everybody. Whether you install 1, 2, or even 3 gateways, just sort of as a backup, especially on a busy holiday season.
Yeah, that's what was going to be my follow up here. Was you don't have to limit yourself to just one, right? If you know that you're going to be selling domestically and internationally, then giving yourself giving your customers options is really the best bet there. Of course, convenience to you as the store owner is important, but at the end of the day, you have to offer options that your customers can take advantage of. And sometimes that's through credit card payments, and sometimes that's not I always recommend using, a gateway that has a credit card option, and then maybe like a PayPal or something that's a digital wallet for people that aren't comfortable putting in credit card information online, or just can't because of where they live.
Yeah.
Yes, I agree to Marcus. And also, I think when I develop for clients, I always put one of the most famous payment gateways as PayPal, because everyone is used to PayPal. Everyone has a certain trust on PayPal. So also put a payment gateway which the customers are friendly to, easy to use, and know they trust this payment gateway because they've used it on other sites.
Yeah, that's a good point. Using a payment gateway that has a history and is well known, and PayPal is, I think, both a digital wallet and you can pay by credit card without having a payment account or a PayPal account. Although they really try to get you to create that account when you want to just use a credit card. But yeah, all good points, everybody. Thank you for sharing your knowledge there. So still talking about payment gateways. Is it possible for WooCommerce merchants to offer features like buy now and pay in store, buy now, pay later, or local pickup?
Yeah, I think the pandemic has really excelled these different options, especially curbside collection as a really key one, or delivery and book your slots. It opened up so many new options, and people experiment with different methods. So I think it's the future, that you not just offer different payment types, but also the way that you take payment and do delivery, and whether you take payment when you deliver it on their doorstep, for example. The buy now, pay later, I'm not such a big expert on, but you see it literally everywhere. So I think if you don't jump on the bandwagon, then potentially miss out as well.
Yeah, a lot of those buy now, pay later options allow you to split the cost of the purchase over a few payments, and it's become really popular because it makes it easier for customers to buy higher priced items or higher average order purchases. But I think it's also, I don't know, I think it partially plays into the demographic, the age group now. That's sort of an expected feature. But as a merchant, I think it's an opportunity for you to be able to sell higher priced items or larger orders using something like that, where maybe the customer wouldn't necessarily have considered purchasing that item if they didn't have that possibility, that option.
And forgive my lack of knowledge there with that subject, but is this truly a buy now, pay later, in that they are receiving that item after the initial payment and then making payments on it?
Yeah, generally it's connected to a third-party service, so that third-party service pays the store owner, and then the customer pays the third-party service back, basically a creditor.
Everybody wins.
Yeah.
Meher, anything to add there with the with those alternative? I'll say alternative, but they're not really alternative payment methods anymore. They're the standard.
It's catching up. It's just catching up. Not yet had my hands on them, but slowly I see a lot of customers going for that option.
Yeah, I think it's really important to call out, just to jump on what you said, Ronald. Because of the pandemic, the popularity of local pickup has obviously, it's something that every store owner has recognized that they need to do, right? And what these solutions have enabled are, for lack of a better term, mom and pop stores, or people just starting out. Maybe they're at well, I can't think of a great example, but the smaller stores that wouldn't otherwise have the ability to create a local pickup option or a curbside pickup option pre-pandemic, in that those services were probably very expensive, probably closed systems, not powered by an open source software. So I would assume that it's that's another reason for the popularity there.
And a lifeline for so many businesses, because they couldn't open, they couldn't receive any guests or customers, so it's the only option for them to survive. So one of the things is just a local pub that then decided to do boxes of vegetables and meat and deliver it in the village. Without it, they probably would have gone under. So being able to create something very quickly in a very affordable way, I mean, you don't even need a plugin to be able to offer that sort of service. So I think for WooCommerce, that was a big win.
Yeah, WooCommerce was well positioned to deal with the pandemic. All right, let's talk about something that Meher mentioned earlier, security. So e-commerce sites, of course, you want them to be secure, not only to build trust with your customers, potential customers, but also to protect yourself, your business, and the businesses of your clients. So under the umbrella of security, what are some of the ways that store owners and pros, web designers and developers, should secure their WooCommerce sites? And
I'm gonna chime in here because I read Santosh's comment about a Yes plugin for wishlist being updated more than once a month. So keeping plugins up to date, because there's a very good reason for an update, because there's a new WordPress version, there's a new WooCommerce version, there are new features. So yes, sometimes it happens more often than once a month, but it's just the way that open source works, I'm afraid.
yeah, couldn't agree more. I mean, I think probably many of our viewers here are very familiar with the subject of security as it relates to websites, and it couldn't be more important when you apply it to an e-commerce website. So there are a lot of standard things you to do. First, you must have an SSL certificate, and that is standard across the board these days. You must be keeping all of your plugins, themes, and any other software that you might have in the same directory as your WordPress install up to date and secure on a regular basis. And if you're managing sites for multiple clients that have just sites or e-commerce stores, there's a multitude of ways to bulk update those things and automate a lot of that. And it is an ongoing process. It's not a thing where you say, okay, I've made the site secure and now I can walk away. It's a regular and ever growing task, I would say. And aside from that, you would probably want to install a web application firewall between your site's server and the rest of the world in order to, and if people watching don't know, a WAF or a web application firewall basically helps filter the automated bad bots before they hit your server. So you're not only making your site more secure, but you're also lessening the resources that are used on the server that your site is hosted on. So of course, security, big thing.
It's a never-ending subject, isn't it? It's an ongoing thing. But I must say, the community of WordPress and how plugin developers and hosts work together to keep all sites secure, considering I don't know how many sites are on WordPress. If we just focus on WooCommerce of 5-6 million or so, I think that's a rough guess. Considering how things happen, of course, and sometimes it's different people to blame, but everybody helps each other to keep this secure. But also as a store owner yourself, you need to play a part by just what you said, Adam. I think that's a really simple to-do list.
Yeah, and
Also,
oh, go ahead, Meher.
go ahead.
No, please.
Also, I think one major thing is try and keep your password strong, because a lot of time admins just either use a very weak password or a very common password. So during busy times, they forget to update their password. So password is also one of the key factors.
Yeah, that's a great point, Meher. And that it all kind of starts there with a strong username and a strong password. And I would also add that it's not just the store admin that has to have very strong credentials, but also anyone any other users that they have added to the site. So let's say they have a content team and there's multiple people, even if they only have author, editor level access in terms of the WordPress roles and responsibility, or roles and capabilities, not roles and responsibilities, that you're ensuring that anyone who has access to the site is also adhering to those strong username and password protocols.
Is there a
Yeah.
is there a plugin that you recommend to make sure they keep a strong password, or that it changes every so often, let's say?
I don't know of one offhand, but I do know that they exist. There was one that exists that forced password new password updates every X amount of time. I believe you could set that.
Yeah, because my version of a strong password and your version of a strong password might be quite different, and so it'd be quite good to have that.
Yeah. Okay, so let's move on to a subject near and dear to my heart: marketing, and specifically email marketing. So this is really a huge opportunity for e-commerce store owners to both make sure that they're incentivizing their prospects to go and learn about the offers and get a sale, but also after the sale, there's an opportunity to talk about things that may enhance purchases that they've already made, or add-ons and such. So in terms of email marketing, what advice do you all have for first-time holiday marketers?
You've just named a couple of really good opportunities there. The one is after a sale has made, and it was a while back I did this presentation. It was for GoDaddy Pro, and I sort of shown on analytics where you can spot a second purchase, and there's a really high rate the day after the first purchase is made. So, I strongly believe that as you browse the site, you might be doubtful about a product, so you're not buying it, but you think about it, and the next day you think, oh, actually, I'm just going to do it. Or, even right after purchase, because you're so focused on buying the discounted shoes or handbag that you probably forget, actually, I also need a bag to put the shoes in, or shoe polish, or some other accessories to look after those really expensive shoes. So if you don't highlight that throughout the journey, but you can do it right after the purchase has been made, or the day after, or even 2 weeks after. But if you use your analytics to look at the pattern and target that email at the right time, I think you can really make a big difference in additional sales.
That makes complete sense. Yes,
Also, the first thing, like when a user purchases this, you can go and give them a small coupon for purchasing another product, or even try and follow up with people who have abandoned the cart for any reason. Try to engage with them and see if they can come back to your site and maybe either purchase the same product or look for a new product. Because there are a lot of times people abandon it for a lot of reasons. The site doesn't work, the internet goes down, or just a gentle reminder that this is still in your cart if you want to go ahead and complete your purchase. This is really helpful because sometimes users forget about that, they have visited X and X site and they had put something in their cart, and after receiving email they do go and purchase a product because they want it. So a general reminder about to the people who not purchase their product is also useful for site owners.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. So when we're talking about purchasing, and Ronald, you touched on this, but you said if you're not presenting them with the other options during the payment process, and I want to just touch on that a bit. What we're talking about here, I think, is upsells or cross sells, as they're known, and that is I add a bike to my cart, and then I'm presented with the option to, don't you also need this bike, this tire pump? Don't you also need these I forget what they're called, but the things for the handlebars, the fun little
The glittery,
Tinsel,
the tinsel.
Yeah.
So, making sure that within the e-commerce store that you're maximizing your opportunities for upsells and cross sells before the actual purchase process in order to, increase the value of that cart. And then, as Meher just said, the abandoned cart emails. I am guilty of depending on those emails sometimes when I'm late at night and I'm adding stuff to my cart and I go, I'm tired, I'm going to go to sleep. I can't make the decision to buy right now, or I feel like the purchase process is going to be too much. In the back of my head, I know I'll get an email about it, and maybe I'll get a discount too that says, we noticed you didn't check out, but here's a 10% discount incentive to make that happen. So I think it's really important for people to know that those options exist in WooCommerce, and I don't know how much of it is built in, but there are definitely plugins for those types of things.
Yeah. The number on abandoned carts is like 70%, which is just an insane number of orders that you could be getting if you just reach back out and say, hey, I think we have some stats that you can regain up to 15% or so of those sales just by sending an email out. That's, I think, without even offering some kind of incentive, just to remind them, hey, you put this in the cart. Are you sure you meant to leave the site? Come back and make this purchase.
And the best part is that is set it and forget it. Is it not? Right. So you set it up once, and then you've got all that benefit moving forward.
But it's good customer service to remind people, because you need, if you again look at analytics, you can see how many on average visits to a store before somebody makes a purchase. So on average, is it maybe 3 or 4? So 4 times they come to your store before they make their purchase. So along the way before they take their credit card out, lots of things are happening, and you're not always aware of what is happening. Maybe they're just comparing products. So adding things to a wish list, or to like a save your cart for later, or an abandoned cart. Those are all then signals you feed back to your customer as a good way of customer service. And it's the same for the upselling, because sometimes it's just not obvious that you also sell tire pumps or other accessories for your bike. So having that as part of your process to check out, to remind people, I think it's really common sense. Because I've spoken to so many store owners, and they're worried that they're being seen as too pushy, or nobody wants to receive spam emails of cart abandonment. And so, well, maybe not everybody, but a lot of people do.
70% of them do.
Yeah. So you're really losing out if you don't take action on that.
Yeah.
Also,
go ahead, Meher.
Also, I think some people can definitely put the upsell in the confirmation purchase email as well. So, because if you've forgotten something, a upsell can always be added gently in a confirmation email as well, because then it triggers the user to go back to the site.
Yeah, I like that call out too, because in addition to just upselling there with the confirmation email, you could also incentivize someone to share the store or a certain page in order to get 10% on their next purchase. But then also you have the call to action to share it out and potentially get some more sales. There's the opportunities for marketing abound within an e-commerce store in general, but WooCommerce specifically. I'd say
the advice there is just to get creative, right? And Ronald's mentioned it a few times. Look at your analytics, get creative and see what works, and then continue on that and bail on what doesn't work to try some other things. There are a lot of opportunities, like you said, Adam, and there's no reason not to try them, not to try different things and see what works.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point, is don't let the fear of things not working prevent you from trying new things, right? Because you're not going to break anything, right? Well, I mean, if you're doing millions of dollars in sales, then it's likely you're doing experimentation and you have some processes involved there to make sure you're not really damaging. But for me, I have a little e-commerce site with my children's t-shirt store, and I'm certainly not going to affect my sales because they're zero by trying things like upsells, cross sells, and incentivizing with discounts and things like that. I think that's a really important point to make. Just do it. Just try stuff. See what sticks.
If your baseline is doing nothing, then something not working just keeps you close to doing nothing. And if it works, then that's just, bonus.
Yeah, that's a cherry on top.
That's the advice to take away here.
Yeah, nice.
What's your kids' website, Adam? Because we've got to change the zero there.
Well, thanks for throwing out that opportunity, Ronald. It is realkidshirts.com. And the purpose of the site was really, of course, we would like to make some sales eventually, but the purpose of the site was to, teach my kids kind of what I do in my world with building sites, but B, to teach them some level of entrepreneurship and some understanding that you don't have to depend on someone else for your income or your livelihood. Here is one way that you can create something and start to do it yourself. So a lot of work to be done there still, but thanks for throwing me that bone. So let's continue on with our email marketing subject. We've got about 12 minutes left. When we think about ramping up for the holidays, right? So your marketing should be continuous, right? Just all year long. You're going to have regular emails going out, newsletters, things like that. As you're ramping up for the holiday season and you're thinking about a marketing campaign leading up to it, what emails should store owners and pros be planning to send that are specific to the holiday season or specific to creating that campaign and making the holiday season a success?
Timing is really difficult, because if you send it too soon to say, oh, you have a big deal, you might be losing out on full price purchases because people delaying until the discount, possibly. But then if you're too late, you also miss out tremendously, because the opening rate on the weekend is maybe a lot lower. So yeah, sorry to throw it in again, but statistics are quite important to understand what the best time is when it comes to selling an email. Automation of emails, I think it's a big one, because not everybody reads the email or sees it because you get so many. So maybe check after a day if they've opened it, maybe resend it again. Different headline, experiment with different headlines. And be really clear and concise in your message.
I love it. Makes sense. And we're going to get to analytics as the next group of
I'll stay quiet for that.
So when you think about this again, is it advisable to, I assume it would be, to create that series of emails and then trigger those to send automatically, so you can sit down and focus on what it is you want to drive either your prospects or your existing customers to do. I would assume it'd be advisable to sit down and create that campaign all in one setting, so all of the writing, the emails are consistent, and then in whatever email marketing service you're using, schedule those. But this is, again, that's the difference between being specific to WooCommerce and the built-in email marketing or plug-in email marketing solutions. Does anybody want to talk about the differences between those? What's possible?
Yeah,
Go ahead.
So the a lot of different options. You have plugins that can send one or two different emails very specific to that part, like an abandoned cart. There's a plugin, there's an abandoned cart that you set and trigger, and that's fine. But if you want to take mail marketing to the next level, using a SaaS platform that has the designer that you can set all these different automations. So if this, then that happens, or if somebody never has made a purchase, make sure they get an extra discount to encourage them to come to your store and make a purchase. You can make it as fancy, as big and advanced as you want. And you also have this predictive sending. So if you want to, the opening rate is the best opening rate, let's say it's 8 o'clock in the morning. But if you send 8 o'clock UK time, it's definitely not going to be 8 o'clock in, for you, Adam, that's in the middle of the night probably. So, predictive sending also means that it arrives for you 8 o'clock in the morning. So as you sort of become bigger as a store, you have to scale up the different tools and see what's available. But if you start small, there are lots of free tools and plugins as well that can do a lot of the more advanced stuff.
Excellent.
Does GoDaddy have any? Because I know Jilt was a sort of a part of Skyverge. Is that sort of reborn into something else within GoDaddy?
There are plans for Jilt that I can't talk much about, but GoDaddy does have a GoDaddy email marketing service, which is similar to something like a MailChimp as well.
Okay.
And Meher, you were going to say something?
So in India, there are a lot of times we have festival seasons. And sometimes if you are an old client of an e-commerce store and your birthday or anniversary is coming at the same time these festivals come. So, a nice email sending them, to the customer that, hey, it's your birthday next week. Also, our festival season is starting 2 weeks down the line. You can use this coupon and merge it and take advantage of the festival season. That also gives a customer a chance to come back to your store.
Yeah, that's a good point. And using those kind of events like birthdays and festivals and things as an excuse to send an email, and also just with the birthday to make a little bit of a connection to your customer. I mean, we know that it's because we put our birthday in a field at some point, but still, I look at my old Yahoo account and I still get a lot of birthday emails from services way back in the day. So, any little bit helps, right? All right, we've got 6 minutes left. So, Ronald, a subject that's near and dear to your heart, and I would say probably one of the most important, if not the most important thing to enable success for your e-commerce store and those of your clients is following the data, analytics, making data-based or data-driven decisions. So the first question here is, what data should we be looking for leading up to the holiday seasons? What's going to inform all of the other activities that we do?
Looking at trends. So I think if you have a couple of years of experience looking back at previous years leading up to the holiday season, and understanding what people are doing, what they're looking for, what are the big topics or search terms, and if Google Analytics, the free version, if it's well connected to your site with the e-commerce connection, and you also have that all the search queries in the search bar are also being recorded within Google, saying that it's connected to Search Console, maybe Google Ads. You have this huge bundle of data, which is totally overwhelming if you're not sure where you're looking at. But start exploring. Look at, for example, e-commerce, and look at the products that are selling really well. Compare dates of last year, let's say the last week of November, compared to a week before, or take a bigger snapshot of a month to previous month, and then you start to see different trends. So you see that certain products are doing much better than others. So these are your first hints of what people are looking at. Then if you pinpoint, let's say, name it 10 products, maybe understand what the competition does, or look at Search Console, what are the most commonly used search terms to find these products. And then you start to build up a pattern, because you have search terms, you have your products. How do you make the connection? Do you use pay-per-click, bring people into your store? Once they're at the store, make sure it's high in the home page, so it's obvious there, or you go straight to a category page. And then, look at the conversion rate. So it is really simple, that checkout fields and the coupon is applied automatically. I probably have described that in a nutshell, how this whole cycle works. But yeah, you touched me that. You asked me that on the subject. Sorry.
No, that's great information. That's great. And so I think one of the follow-ups, and Marcus, please feel free to chime in if I cut you off. I apologize. But when we think of looking at analytics, something like Google Analytics, it can quickly become overwhelming for people. So are there any WooCommerce specific plugins that will kind of take in that data or data just from your store and your transactional data that will help store owners make better informed decisions on what they should be doing?
Yeah, I mean, I think WooCommerce itself has some built-in tools to give you some sales numbers to be able to see what products are doing well, and you can filter that by date ranges and stuff. I guess to step back just a moment, the only thing I was going to add there is if you've taken our advice and you've started early here, what tends to be the case with trends is that they just amplify as you get closer to the holiday season. So the things that are working well are likely to be the same things that are working well later. But if you look now to see what's working well, you can kind of lean into those strategies as you go into the holiday season and further push those, see where your traffic is coming from and lean into those outlets to send you more traffic and that sort of thing. So take a look at the stats as they are now. If you started early and you have that in place, then you can lean into the things that are working as you work your way into the holiday season.
That is great advice from all of you. And I do have to wrap us up now. We're getting the 1 minute warning anytime. So I would ask each of you, do you have any words to leave our viewers as they move forward with their own e-commerce holiday readiness, or for those of their clients? And we do officially have 1 minute left. So any inspiring words for our viewers?
If you can say the 7 Ps again.
I'll put them in the chat.
Yeah, just like I would say the same thing I've been saying the whole time. Start early and just plan as much as you can ahead of time, because it's just going to get crazy as you get closer to the holiday time, and you're not going to have time to sit back and do all of that then.
Awesome. And Mihir?
Start early, test, make your strategy, and be on point when the season is there.
Good advice. And I will follow up with the 7 Ps of life. Proper prior planning prevents piss poor performance. So I hope we've performed better than that today. And thank you all for watching and joining the panel here, and enjoy the rest of Page Builder Summit. We'll see you next time.